Hey folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I'm going to do a Mike's Instant Movie Review. Not terribly instant this time. I saw this movie last night, so it's still fresh in my head. Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and a cast of others. The Fall Guy. So first off, I say, should you go see the movie? Should you go not? And then at some point, I will say the magic S word, in which case, my advice is if you're going to go see the movie, go see the movie. Put this wonderful review on pause. After you see the movie, come back and watch the rest of my reaction, my review, and see if you agree or disagree with my thoughts and analysis. And you can leave a friendly comment. Now, this time, we're actually doing things live. So, in case you haven't seen the movie, and if you don't want me to spoil it, you might want to hide, put me on mute, do anything you have to do. But you may not even want to see this movie, to be honest with you. I'm going to give this one probably three and a half out of five, maybe three. I'll determine that in a moment. So let's get into it. First off, the movie is based on the TV show. Now, in full disclosure, I'm quite familiar with the TV show's theme song. I'm quite familiar with the basic premise of the theme of the TV show from back in the 80s. I never really watched it, to be honest with you. I mean, I know that they had some great action, and it was an interesting premise about a stuntman who kind of doubles as a bounty hunter and all the shenanigans, and kind of this thought of like the last cowboy, the last American cowboy of the great stuntman for films. How these guys don't get the credit, they don't get the girl, they don't get the money, yet they do all the real work. And that's kind of like an American, feeling. Like we're always doing the real tough stuff. We're getting our fingernails dirty, yet we're not getting the credit. So the Fall Guy, the TV show, kind of played into that aesthetic, that belief, that American mantra of not getting the credit we deserve, doing the right thing, all that good stuff. And this movie kind of plays into the modern day 2024 version of that. In this one, Ryan Gosling, who's kind of becoming, I wouldn't even say he's become the modern day, Matthew McConaughey, or the modern day, fill in your blank here, of the kind of the pretty boy, go-to guy for these chick flicks, or these, variants of a theme of the chick flicks, Barbie last summer, and now this one this summer. And it's, Ryan Gosling, hey, by all accounts, he's a good actor. I think he's a good actor. I think he's an intelligent actor. Uh, the women seem to enjoy him. At least that's what we're being sold or told. And he has done some really cool movies. I believe it was him. Uh, was he in Baby Driver, or that was somebody else actually? But he's Ryan Gosling's done some really good movies. I can't name them off the top of my head, but actually La La Land. I liked him in La La Land. I liked him and Emma Stone in La La Land. 7 or 8 years ago. I do like Ryan Gosling as an actor. I think he's quite good. Um, but this is starting to feel a little force fed. This is starting to feel a bit like, okay, here's our Hollywood it boy for the moment, and we have to cram him down your throat. And here's a way for him to kind of be macho and kind of be a tough guy, but at the same time, uh, be the perfect boyfriend for every schoolgirl fantasy out there. And Emily Blunt, does her part in playing the every lady who's kind of a career woman. She's a camera operator at the beginning of the movie, and then she kind of jumps into being a director of a movie. That's another part of this movie that deserves talking about. By the way, folks, let me know if you can hear me. If you happen to be watching in live time, this is Saturday, 12:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. If you can, leave a comment or just something to let me know you can hear me, because I have been known to do full movie reviews with no audio, and then I get very upset because all my magical wisdom of the whole world of cinema is thrown into the garbage can. So just let me know if you can hear what I'm saying, okay? But as far as this movie goes, it's another movie about making movies. Uh, I have mixed feelings on that. I feel that sometimes movies about making movies can really work. The legendary, the stage play, the musical, the everything, the producers, of course, was it Hayrides for Hitler, or Halftime with Hitler, whatever it was, Springtime with Hitler, Springtime for Hitler, in the producers. And then you've had a really influential movie in my life, The Player, Tim Robbins, going way back to the early 90s. So there are a lot of good movies about the movie making world. However, sometimes it can be a bit much. And I kind of feel like this one is a bit much, and I feel that there's a movie that they're making in this movie, the meta, movie within a movie of Metal Storm, I believe it's called. And I kind of would rather see that movie, to tell you the truth. Like the space cowboy, and his love story with Aliana is kind of this metaphor for the Emily Blunt director character, Jodie, and Ryan Gosling's the fall guy. And I kind of feel like I'd rather see Metal Storm than the actual movie that I saw, because the kind of the stunts that they're putting together and the breakdown of fun for about the first 40 or 45 minutes. And then the movie, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if I turned against the movie or the movie turned against me. There was like a record skip in this movie where I suddenly just got really sick of this movie, really all of a sudden. Like, I think there was just too many video montages, in case you're not familiar with that term. Video montage, you've seen it. The video montage got its start with Citizen Kane. It's basically when you put a lot of information or a lot of scenes together and cram them all together and put some interesting, good music behind it, and you get a lot of information about what's going on in the world of the movie across to the viewer through a montage, basically, and usually with musical montage, video montage. This one had a lot of that. I mean, we had AC/DC, of course. I'm a big AC/DC fan. I think it was the song "Thunderstruck" is at the beginning of the movie, and then we have these other kind of musical montages showing the romance between these two main characters. And at some point, there was all these montages of them actually doing the stunts in the movie, within the movie Metal Storm. And at some point, it just got very redundant. Like, it just felt like, and this is a theme you'll hear from me and from other people, is that I felt like there was more sizzle than steak at times in this movie. At a lot of times, like a lot of the need for big elaborate stunts and showing off big fight scenes really just got in the way of character development. And for us, at least for me as an audience, to actually give a shit about these two characters, and especially, will they or won't they? I mean, it seemed like a very forlonged conclusion. Will these two former lovers who had a little tryst on set, will they get back together? First of all, the question is, why should we care? And the second thing is, was there really any mystery that these two were going to get back into each other's loving embrace? Not really. So the movie got to a certain point. Wow, God, when was it? There was, I think there was a certain scene, maybe the karaoke scene or something like that, when I was just about waving the red flag or waving the white flag on enjoying this movie, when something happened that actually caught my attention. And here was the big twist. So once again, I'm giving out the spoiler notification. If you're going to see this movie, if you don't want some friendly spoilers, tune me out. Come back after you've seen the movie and compare notes. But I'm going to proceed now. I'm going to proceed. Basically, when we find out they're doing the whole thing with our guy, the fall guy, Colt Seavers, is being framed for the murder of his replacement stunt guy. Like, not the film star, Tom Ryder, who seemed like an obvious tip of the hat to Tom Cruise. But there's another gentleman who kind of is in the fill-in fall guy, who's been accidentally murdered in a fight by Tom Ryder's movie star character. And they're basically using our buddy, the fall guy, Colt, as the stand-in to take the fall for killing the other stand-in. So it's kind of an interesting twist, which I didn't see coming. I don't think that was part of the TV show. They did make a reference to another, The Fugitive, the famous TV show turned movie with Harrison Ford. The TV show I never watched. That was a bit before my time. So I was intrigued. Once we got into this other wrinkle of the story, that got a little more interesting for me. However, the general type of movie this was really just kept with the same old crap. It was more montages, more smart alecky dialogue. Somebody on YouTube did a really good video about the smart alecky dialogue that's used in most movies now, that every fucking character in every movie. You see this a lot in the new Ghostbusters movie and all types of movies for the last 10 or 15 years at least. Nobody can say anything, just a plain sentence. Every fucking character has to say a smart alecky, sarcastic comment. And that's basically riffs as an interesting dialogue, which I don't find terribly interesting. And if you happen to see my movies over on One Man and Camera Films, you know that I like to think that I write pretty intelligent dialogue. So it's a bit depressing when some of these big budget movies just have this same substandard sarcastic dialogue. So we get into the whole thing now where our buddy, the fall guy, Colt, has to clear his name. And does Jody Moreno, who's trying to direct this big movie, does she believe her man? Blah, blah, blah. And, it's fine. It's good. Like I said, I just felt like at that point, maybe I was a little worn out from this thing. I felt like there was so much sizzle, so much big time theatrical stuff, which is great because this movie is being released in IMAX. It's being released in Dolby Digital. I would say for this movie, if you're going to go see it, and I'm not telling you not to go see it, but do the extra work, see it on Dolby Digital or see it in IMAX. It will probably be worth it. I saw this movie on an RPX screen, Regal RPX, which is fairly good. It's actually very good by most standards, but it's still not quite as good as IMAX or Dolby Digital. So I saw this movie at a convenient time for me, and I did make sure to see it in the best possible auditorium in the theater that I was at, the RPX screen, but it wasn't quite the best screen in town. So if you're going to go see this one, see it in IMAX or see it in Dolby Digital. You might be saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, those tickets cost $9 more. Well, as I've advised you several times, if you've watched this channel, if you're new, well, then you're exempt from this castration. But basically, you want to get these AMC, Regal, or Cinemark subscription things. These subscription deals are really worth it. I keep telling people, most people don't listen to me, but it's actually quite easy. It's actually quite fun. People will say, well, gee, I don't go to the movies that often. Well, I hate to say shit for brains, but shit for brains. If you were to get the subscription, you probably would go to the movies more often. Hence, you would see the value and you would enjoy it. Now, I go through this song and dance all the time. I'm a little sick of it, but AMC is probably the best subscription deal. I would say Regal is up there in my particular neighborhood. The Regal Cinema, pound for pound, is not quite as good as AMC. It's not really as good at all, to be quite honest, except that there's more likely to have empty seats in the auditorium at Regal. And it's a bit closer to me and it's a bit more convenient. And the staff there is really nice, actually, at the Regal Cinemas in this town. They're very nice people. So I do support that theater as well. But point of the story is don't pay full price for movie tickets, folks. There's no need. Get yourself a monthly subscription. It's well worth it. You also get the concession stand savings and all that good stuff. So let's get back to this movie. What else can I say about it? Some interesting side characters. This lady, Gail Meyer, was portrayed by Hannah Waningham. Now, here's another show that you probably watch that I don't. The Ted Lasso show. I started to watch the first episode. I think I got through the first episode of this, soccer club, this European soccer club with the stupid American coach. I started to watch it. I thought the first episode was fine. I guess I wasn't terribly locked into it because I didn't force myself to watch the rest of the series. One of those things where I could say, okay, that pilot was fine or that first episode was fine, but you didn't lock me in. You didn't motivate me to watch the whole series. But apparently she's on that show. And Gail Meyer, I thought, was really good in this movie last night. The Fall Guy, as kind of the evil producer. Very jacked up woman, too. Very physically intimidating, muscles and all types of things. If they ever made a movie about the former living pro wrestler, China Joni Lawler, I mean, maybe that this lady, maybe she could do it. I don't know. She might be a bit aged out at this point, but she was good. Who else was in this thing? I'm looking at Teresa Palmer, played Iggy Starr. I can't even remember what she was in. She looks like a young Nicole Kidman. I'm looking at the IMDb page, by the way. Well, this Teresa Palmer looks very attractive here. She's been in Lights Out. I Am Number 4. I can't even remember. Was she the one with the sword? Was she like the other actress in the Metal Store movie? I can't remember, folks. Tom Ryder, I thought that was an interesting character. He played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Apparently his star meter is number 53 on the good old IMDb Pro. I really didn't recognize this guy. Apparently he's been in Kick-Ass, Nocturnal Animals, Nowhere Boy, Kick Ass 2. He's probably in some other stuff that I'm not remembering. But I thought he was really good as the jerk, like the movie star, who basically, like I said, seemed like a easily a ripoff of Tom Cruise. Um, I thought he was very good in this. I do feel like I didn't know that he was such a big star when I was watching the movie because I didn't recognize him. I thought Matthew McConaughey would have been hilarious in this role. I think if I had been casting this movie and if the budget had allowed, I think I would have shoehorned Matthew McConaughey in the role of Tom Ryder. I think that would have been hilarious. I think um, Gosling playing McConaughey's stunt double and McConaughey turning evil. I just think McConaughey would have killed this role as the movie star Tom Ryder. I think that would have been awesome. No offense to Aaron Taylor Johnson, he was fine, but I kind of just want to say he was just fine. I think you're watching this movie, and basically it's like, okay, we're supposed to believe that Ryan Gosling is second fiddle to this guy. I didn't quite believe that, to be honest with you, that this Ryan Gosling is second fiddle to this Tom Ryder, Aaron Taylor Johnson fellow. I didn't buy it. And I think that with McConaughey, because McConaughey is so over the top with his Southern charm and all that horse shit, I think he could have played the character a lot better. So there you go. I'm recasting the movie. Too late, huh? Because it's already been made. So who knows? I mean, the budget, the schedule, maybe it wouldn't have worked. I just think McConaughey would have really been hilarious in that, and I think maybe that would have taken the shine off of Pretty Boy Gosling. But hey, that's the risk you take. Once again, the movie felt like a whole Ryan Gosling summer shove. Like, is that the new thing now? Like, back in the '90s, you had the Independence Day. Every summer you had Will Smith with the sci-fi Men in Black or Independence Day. Oh, what's the big Memorial Day Will Smith movie? Yada yada. Until that train kind of wrecked with what was the one with the crazy spider thing? The one with Kevin Kline, the horrible one that everyone hated. It kind of feels like now with Barbie last summer and now with this one this summer, like, oh, Ryan Gosling is our summer poster boy for summer romance and action. Okay. You know what I mean? I guess I'm not fully on board with that. I'm not fully off board. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad guy. I will say this, folks, before the movie started last night, and this is kind of the fun of going to the theaters these days, the auditoriums, as I say. And what's the difference, you might be asking? The theater is like the building, and then the auditorium is the room within the building. So in this one, when I go to see the Fall Guy, um, Gosling and the director come out and they do a little speech, like a little introduction to the movie thing. And I first started seeing this a couple of years ago with Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. David Leitch, the director, and Gosling come out in front of this one. So that one for Maverick, Top Gun, Tom Cruise did like a thank you for coming to the movie, like little speech before the movie starts, and that's become like a new thing where like these rich Hollywood elites are trying to connect with us, right before they go back to drinking baby's blood. They try to connect with us commoners by telling us how thankful they are that we're supporting their lives and make us feel good, make us feel that they give a shit about us. And then we all smile and watch the movie. So in this one, David Leitch, the director, and the Fall Guy himself, the new Fall Guy, Gosling, come out and they do a little shtick and they kind of gently chide us to put away our cell phones, which is fine. And oddly enough, someone in the theater was on their cell phone with their little fucking screen ablaze while they were doing this routine. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I have that was fine. I mean, like I said, folks, another thing that I'm always very open about is that a lot of times when you see a movie, it's the mood that you're in. It's the mood. It's the situation you're in. Had I seen this in IMAX, had I seen this in Dolby Digital, I might have liked it better. This also kind of feels like a date movie, to be honest with you. It's not necessarily being promoted like that, but it's not necessarily not. Just the fact that it's got a big romantic spin, kind of a date movie. So probably if you do have a date, probably better to take a date rather than solo or with a bunch of friends. It's more like a date movie. It kind of felt like that, like, okay, this is the chick flick that you can take your boyfriend to, or this is the action flick you can take your girlfriend to. It felt like this movie was trying to cut all those four boxes. I don't know. There's that thing where it's like, you know, adult, male, female, child, or teenager. There's like a box of like checkpoints where you check off the different audience aspects. It's pretty simple. It might be like, kid, adult, male, female, male. I guess at this point you'd have to add a few more columns or rows or whatever. But back in those days, it was just that very simple little checkpoint thing. And this movie really felt like it was trying to hit all the checkpoints, like make everybody happy. And that's kind of my thing with this review. I just felt like the movie's not bad. In fact, it's good. I felt it's a little thin on storytelling, a little thin on character development. It's getting by on the cuteness of Emily Blunt, the cuteness of Ryan Gosling, the chemistry. It's just getting by on Hollywood people being Hollywood people. Is there really a fucking story here that's unique? No, not particularly. In fact, one of the annoying things in this movie that some people like, I didn't particularly like it, was an incessant amount of references and callbacks and punchlines and jokes referencing other films. I mean, just throughout this movie, the guy that plays the stunt coordinator in the movie within the movie and Gosling's character have this thing where they're always quoting from other movies. They're quoting from the Fast and the Furious. They're quoting from this one. There's a cute dog in this movie that's named Jean-Claude, after Jean-Claude Van Damme, who actually, the interesting story, he was supposed to be the stunt man on the original Predator movie and was fired. So all these things, but it really just felt like this movie was basically a big Hollywood movie sucking off big Hollywood movies. Like, this is just another Hollywood film telling us how great Hollywood people are. And once you've seen enough movies about actors playing actors, or directors playing directors, or actors playing directors, or enough movies Barton Fink about the process of screenwriting, or like I said, The Player, or Bob Roberts. Well, I guess Bob Roberts was about politics, but The Player with Tim Robbins, all types of movies that we've seen. Hollywood Ending. What was that the one with the other movie with stunt guys, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt? That was Hollywood Story, or whatever the fuck it was, a couple of years ago. I think that was the last big. What was that movie called? The Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that's the last time we've actually cared about stuntmen, which wasn't that long ago, 2019. So it's 5 years ago that we all cared about stuntmen for 5 minutes, and now we're supposed to care about them again. So, I mean, I have a lot of respect for stuntmen. I've actually, a buddy of mine, Nick Principe, played a stuntman for me in a movie once. So I'm thankful to stuntmen. I'm not trying to deny them. They're fucking whatever the fucks. What do you call it? The roses, or the fucking the flavors, or the gifts, or whatever the fuck that we're supposed to give people these days. They're props, as the kids used to say. So I have nothing against stuntmen. It just seems like, Hollywood, once they've run out of, saying how great actors are, and how great the processes are, and how great filmmakers are, and how great screenwriters are, now we have to get into how great the stuntmen are, and hey, where's the next big grip movie? I mean, I want to see a movie about the electrical grips. I want to see a movie about the production assistants. And I want to see a really intense movie about the first AD, for Christ's sakes. To be honest with you, I think that would be a good movie, because the first AD is a thankless job. You might be saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, what is a first AD? First assistant director is usually the bad cop on a movie, usually the person that tells people to get to work when everyone else is wasting time eating food and so forth. So I would say that a first AD movie, I mean, give me whoever the fuck is a first AD. Another thing about this Fall Guy last night, Jason Momoa plays Jason Momoa. Okay, god damn it. Another person that I'm sick of. I never went to see the fucking Aquaman movie. Sorry. Look, Aquaman, I just can't get into it. I remember when the show Entourage was doing a mock of Aquaman, 10 or 20 years ago, and I thought that was funny. And then they actually did make an Aquaman movie. And this King Momoa guy, or Jason Momoa guy, whatever the fuck, I give him credit for marrying Lisa Bonet. I don't give him much credit beyond that. I don't find him terribly interesting. I find him to be another one of these guys that's just getting shoehorned into this, 2024, he's masculine, he's tough, but he's also sensitive, you know, and it just seems like him and Gosling are kind of in that same career trajectory where they're getting under the velvet rope. You know, they can be manly, studly guys, but they're sensitive enough to be acceptable. And I just don't buy it. I just don't. You know, it just seems like they're playing a role, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I don't, I mean, I guess they are because they're in the fucking movies. So, Momoa or whatever the fuck his name is, Mimosa, Lenny Kravitz's substitute, it didn't do much for me. Him, like I said, it's Hollywood sucking itself off. It's basically like, oh, we're so clever and so fabulous and blah blah blah. And that's the trick that a lot of these movies try to play on you, folks. They try to make you feel like you're in on the inside joke, and you're not. You know what I mean? Because they're making the movie and you're spending the money. You're spending the money to go see the movie. Now, of course, I just told you to go buy your movie subscription app, so I might be giving you, you know, conflicting information here, but you can figure it out. You're big people. So anyway, I don't know. I just felt like the movie was fine. I Here's the thing. You ready? I didn't give a shit about the characters. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, yes, I kind of just felt like the whole time I'm watching Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling in a movie. And Emily Blunt, I think she's great. I enjoy the Jungle Cruise movie quite a bit. Several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, her and Dwayne Johnson. This one, I never felt like I wasn't watching a movie about a movie being made. I never got lost in it. I always felt the word that I sometimes use is posturing when I feel that the actors or that the movie is posturing, not really acting or not being convincing or not being in the moment. It's a posturing. We're looking like we're trying to look like something. And I felt like Gosling was trying so hard to be charming and so hard to be loving and so hard to be you know, he can't articulate his emotions. Oh, the good looking guy who can't articulate his emotions. Well, Jesus fucking Christ. You know what I mean? I just at some point I just didn't give a shit. And it's too bad because I was looking forward to this movie. I will say this, there was an interesting preview before this movie started. 1985 Maxine with three X's, and the lady, she's like in everything now. This actress is like in all the horror movies all the time now. She's like the big fucking go-to girl for horror films or whatever the fuck. Maxine, Mia Goth. Yeah, so Mia Goth is in this. She's usually a brunette. She looks like they dyed her hair blonde for this thing. She's like a big star now. She was in Pearl. She was in X, Suspiria, which I don't think I saw. Maybe I did. Infinity Pool. Yeah, she's a big time thing now. Mia Goth. So she'll be in this movie. That looks really fun. I mean, so I think there's still good movies out there, folks. The Mummy was playing last night. I didn't get to see that. There's a big Canelo Alvarez fight tonight. There's a big UFC. There's a WWE thing happening just about now. So that's it, folks. Hopefully you got the audio on this. I'm going to wrap this thing up. I didn't get any questions or comments in live time. No offense. So hopefully the audio worked properly and I wasn't just talking for half an hour like a complete fucking asshole. Hopefully you heard something that I said. Maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't. This channel, One Mike Messier, has my Mike's Instant Movie Reviews. A big popular one for some reason is why I didn't like Dune 2 as much as you. That one's very controversial, apparently. If you go to One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel, I do my other stuff over there. My pro wrestling and sports stuff. If you say, well, gee whiz, Mike, you're such a critic of everything. Do you do anything yourself? Well, actually, I do. Okay. Since you asked. One Man in a Camera Films for my films. The Impeccable is wonderful. Blood Sugar Sid Ace will challenge you if you want to be challenged. And what else? One Artist, Mike Messier, for Christ's sakes. That's my art. So if you don't want to hear me speak, if you're saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, you seem like such an interesting guy, but I can't stand the sound of your voice, go to One Mike Messier. It's terribly interesting because it's all my wonderful artwork, okay? Ah, for God's sakes. All right, folks. Well, it's, God, what day of the week is it? It's only Saturday, so you have the whole weekend to fuck up, and that's it. MikeMessier.com. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, I'm glad. If you didn't, that's okay too. But you can copy and share the URL and then do other things. Go to MikeMessier.com, scroll to the bottom,